Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
All right, thank you all for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Worley. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope you're enjoying the start of your weekend. I won't really be able to do anything this upcoming weekend because I'm finishing up packing my apartment and getting ready for the move down to Dallas, Texas by the end of next week. So all I'm going to be doing is packing my apartment, watching baseball, and recording this podcast. So that's my weekend. I hope yours is a little bit more exciting, but it's going to be more exciting because baseball's back. We have basketball back. We have hockey on the way. Sports are back, and that's all that matters, people. But I am recording this on Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So I have not seen the night's games yet. I've not seen the opening games between Cole and Scherzer, but I'm sure they were incredible. You got Scherzer, you got Cole, you got Kershaw, and Cueto. What more can you ask for? What a great opening day for baseball. What a great opening day for all of us. Going back, looking on the scrimmages and everything, the Dodgers looked, as unstoppable as always in their scrimmages, just dismantling the D-backs and the Angels. So, I'm sure we all expect them to do the same thing throughout the season. I expect around 40 wins. I would say around 40 wins from the Dodgers. More than 40 at least. I would say give me about 44 wins, especially since they showed some rather good bullpen pieces. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't really like Jose Urias that much, but maybe they can put him back in the bullpen and throw in this rookie pitcher Brusdar Graterol that they got from the Twins in the Maeda and Rich Hill deal. Minnesota, what are you guys doing? Like, this guy had 99-mile-an-hour fastball with a ton of movement in addition to a wipeout slider. Like, this is like elite stuff to go along with his elite name. Like, why would you give that up? Yeah, he had some arm troubles in the past, but a lot of people have arm troubles in the past. Like Tommy John seems like everybody gets Tommy John after a couple seasons. You throw over 100 miles an hour with wicked movement on it, like you're going to get Tommy John sooner or later. Like, that's just how the game goes now. Like, you can't just give up on that type of guy. Like, that's a franchise guy. That's a number one guy. If Jose Barrios, if Jose Barrios figures out how to not give up 6 runs after 100 pitches, he could stay the number 1 and Graterol could have been the number 2, but that's just how it goes. Now Graterol is a potential number 1 with a team that he could end up being number 3. That's just not even fair. And then you look at they also got Blake Trinan. Everybody knows Blake Trinan's going to be really great coming out of the bullpen, and he looked like he was right back to form. One thing that also was great about this is seeing all the upcoming prospects again. I'm a huge fan of seeing the upcoming prospects, excel. And if you're anything like me, then this is going to be a great season. The Dodgers have so many prospects and so many good players that the favorite for Rookie of the Year, Gavin Lux, didn't even make the starting lineup. Like the starting opening day roster, Gavin Lux is not even on it. And he is the favorite for the NL Rookie of the Year. Now, I will get into who my favorite for Rookie of the Year is going to be later in the show. That's going to be around our fourth segment. But that's crazy to think about. Like they're just that stacked. And they brought up another couple guys who just seamlessly fit in. And they're going to. It's going to be the Dodgers always have like 2 or 3 random prospects that just come up and spark this insane win streak. Just hitting walk-off taters left and right. And, this year, even though it's only 60 games, it does not look any different. And another thing that's great about this baseball season is I get that the NBA is back, so we could see this change a little bit, but the ratings on baseball were up like so much. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but everything that I've been reading is that we're so starving for sports that people who don't care about baseball are into baseball now, and it's amazing to see that. I'm so stoked about hearing, so many more people actually care about baseball now, and it's really fun to see. And, this is going to be a very exciting season, as I've been saying for the past few weeks. Market, yeah. So that's going to be fun to see how that goes. Some other random news. Marcus Stroman is going to be out for the start of the season with a muscle tear in his calf. That's a giant blow. That is a giant blow for the Mets. Now, the Mets, they had, their first 2 starters were going to be DeGrom and Stroman, and then their back 3 were looking a little shaky at the end of the rotation. So now, they don't have Syndergaard, they don't have Marcus Stroman. Like, their head of their pack is Jacob DeGrom, but now it's, Steven Matz, Michael Wacha. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be able to hold up. If they're able to keep up in the NL East while Stroman's gone, I think they have a solid chance of getting back into the race. But if they fall off to a slow lead or a slow start, it is going to be, it's going to be hard for them to make up. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. You're going to have to keep an eye on the Mets during the start of the season. Another thing is, I actually kind of feel like I want to buy one of these cardboard cutouts. And I want to put myself doing something like dressed crazy. Dressed like a Liberace kind of, and putting myself behind the tarps in the outfield, just so that these TV cameras are going to be like, man, who's this guy who paid for him? And then they zoom in, and it's just me looking dumb out in like right field behind the tarps, and seeing what these guys have to say. I want to see if they can make this funny. I just want to see how the MLB world would react. Maybe get a little action bubble to the side of my mouth saying, man, it's lonely out here or something. I don't know. I think that would be pretty funny. Let me know if you guys don't think it's... Let me know if you guys think it's a funny idea on Twitter. Just tag the GSMC baseball show and be like, hey, you need to do that, or that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Either way, I mean, hey, it's something to do. If you got the money, it's like, might as well spend it. Do it on like a Sunday night game. I think that'd be hilarious. So let's get into the biggest news, I would say, of the last few days. Mookie Betts got PAID paid. And it is an insane contract. It's a 12-year, $365 million extension, and it will total out to 13 years, $392 million. My goodness, that is a ridiculous contract. I've never, ever, ever been a fan of paying somebody 38 years and older $30 million a season, and I don't think it ever works out unless you're, Barry Bonds, and, well, we all know what he was doing at the time. So I'm not a really big fan. I know that Mookie's smart, and I can already guess how he structured this deal. He is going to, once he hits around 36, 37, and he gets towards the end of his career, he is going to, what is that term? He's going to delay the payments, and he's going to Bobby Bonilla it. Because now if you think about it, say he takes, let's see, $13 million for 13 years, 392. Quick math here. Let's see, what is the average annual value on that? 392 divided by 13. That's $30 million a year. So say in the last 3 years of his deal, he, just sends it back. Just goes like, all right, last 3 years, I have all this money saved up. I have my other investments I can live off of. Let's Bobby Bonilla this and, take about $2 to $3 million a year starting, 5 years from now. So he would end up owed $90 million by the age of, just say he pushes it back 5 years, that's 45. $90 million at 45, and if he takes $3 million a year for the rest of the duration of the contract for the money that he got paid, that dude's getting paid $3 million a year by the Dodgers until he is 75 years old. That is ridiculous. But it's smart. Do your thing, Mookie. I'm all for the players just sticking it to the owners and being like, hey, I know I'm great, but you're going to pay me until I'm around 75 years old. Who would not want that? You put out the numbers on the field, you do all this stuff, you save your money correctly while you have all this money. That's almost $500 million. With all the other investments, bro, you are a billionaire by the time you're 50. Like, that's insane to think about. And it's crazy to see that the baseball players, like the players, sooner or later, by the time in like 20, 25 years from now, players are going to own teams and they're just going to need a group of like 3 guys because they have such big contracts. Like, if you would have told anybody that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would be crazy. People would look at you dumb. Just be like, hey, an ownership group of 2 players could probably buy a team by now. I don't think anybody would believe you. I wouldn't believe you. I would never think that the money was going to be like that. So that's insane. But for Dodger fans, you got to think about that. Like, you really want your team paying a guy for like 30 years after he retired? Look at it this way. Prince Fielder is only 36. He's the highest paid slugger this year. Like, what if Mookie Betts were to go down with an injury, God forbid, but if he goes down with an injury at the age of 34, you're paying him for 6 more years. So 6 years, $180 million, and if he pushes that off, he gets paid forever. You get about 4 years, 5 years of Mookie Betts? 6 years? I don't know. I don't like that. I personally don't like that deal. I think that it's like too much money. But I'm thinking like an owner. If I was a player, he's worth every single freaking penny. Especially if he can bring that ever elusive title back to Los Angeles. If he can bring a title back to Los Angeles for the first time since the 80s, he's worth it. Pay him till his kids are 80 years old. Do that. That seems perfect. But if he doesn't, this is going to be a huge, huge, huge flop for the Dodgers. And it's going to be pretty sad. Alrighty, so I am going to take a quick break, and I will be right back to speak on the Toronto Blue Jays stadium situation. This is getting more and more messy by the moment. I will be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, everybody. So we are back. We just jumped right into the Mookie deal, and let's move on to the next developing story, which seems to be a lot weirder than we initially expected. The Toronto Blue Jays, like we broke last week, they won't be able to play their home games in Toronto this year because the Canada's government doesn't think it's safe for the players to be traveling back and forth from the United States. With the coronavirus pandemic, they've done a pretty good job of flattening the curve, and they want to keep it that way. Can't blame them for that at all. And with the United States, we've been kind of hit the hardest. And we have some places that are still going back into phase 1 lockdown, and we don't know. There's still a ton of question marks about what's happening. So originally it was thought that they were going to go to the team's spring training facility in Dundon, Florida, which, they're still thinking about doing. They still have a chance of be playing there, but it is a complete hotspot for the virus, which could, potentially cause problems for their teams. And, I think they don't want to do it more because it's more of a travel. Like when they play, if they're more north, they don't really have to travel that far. You only really have to go south for the Braves and the Braves and the Marlins. Like that's pretty much it. The Braves, Marlins, Rays, and everything else. Like it's just straight up north. So the majority of their games, they would have to travel a whole lot to play those games. And amongst being in the center of a hotspot. I don't think that's what they want to do, and they want to, find a spot that's more north. They said that they are still looking into Salem Field in Buffalo, New York, the home of their AAA affiliate, but they said before that the facilities aren't good enough, to support their decision because, with the pandemic, they want more space between the lockers, and, the facilities there keep, it's very tight quarters. So it's not looking like it's going to be Buffalo. It might, because they're saying that they're going to make the luxury boxes more, turn those into locker rooms. But even with that, like you would probably, I'm completely guessing, but I figured you would have to put probably 2 to 3 players in a luxury suite. I don't know how big the luxury suites are for a AAA affiliated team. I've never been to a AAA game, but I'm sure that it probably isn't going to help them at all with the safety regulations. Who knows? That is still an option. They were thinking about going to PNC Park, the home of the Pittsburgh Pirates, but the state of Pennsylvania said no. They're like, no, we're not bringing people in. They said that, we're not going to bring outsiders into the state. We don't want to, we don't want, outsiders to affect our people. And man, why are people hating on the Jays so much? Like, you just got to let the guys play. I don't think that it's that. I mean, me personally, I get their reasoning. I truly do. But I just don't understand. These guys are getting tested, like, daily. Like, if they're making it so that these guys are the safest, everybody, if you catch the coronavirus, obviously, with we only really have basketball and soccer's doing great, basketball's doing great, but they're all playing in one little area. They're playing in a bubble. These guys are still traveling all over the world, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I mean, here's what Rachel Levine said, this state's Secretary of Health. To add travelers to this region for any reason, including for professional sports events, risks residents, visitors, and members of both teams. We know that this virus does not discriminate, and we can even make professional athletes very sick. We are committed to protecting the health and well-being of Pennsylvanians. Yeah, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that at all. But what my thing is it's like these guys aren't tourists. They go to the hotel, they stay in the hotel, they get room service dropped off outside their rooms, and then they go to the field, go play sports, or go play baseball, and then they come back into their hotel rooms, probably to get checked again to see, all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I truly understand where they're coming from, but still, that's kind of, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of a shaky response. But, it's their decision ultimately. We will see, it is nice to see that they aren't giving in to the temptation of money, because, they could, like the Pittsburgh Pirates could make a lot of revenue from, just tarp sponsors and, people buying the cutouts. Like, if the Toronto Blue Jays have a game in the morning and the Pirates are at home also and have a game at night, that's double the ad revenue. That's double the, double the cardboard cutouts, because I'm sure that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to be taking some of that. I mean, they can't just, I don't think they're just lending it out their stadiums just to take 0% cut. I feel like, they're going to get a little bit out of that. So it's nice to see that, they aren't really just saying, hey, we're going to take the money regardless. So you got, like, everybody in Pittsburgh, like, buyer beware. It's nice that they're sticking by their morals. Toronto, they begin the season in Tampa Bay on Friday, and their first home game is going to be July 29th against the defending champion Washington Nationals. They still, word is that they might be the home team in the other team stadium. Like, they might have 100% road games this year, and just put on the white jersey, put on the home team uniform, even though they're in Washington, which would be really weird. I don't know if I would like that. I mean, I get if it's like 100% road games, but I mean, if you're going to be playing in a road team's stadium anyways, might as well just consider it a road game. I mean, if there's no fans, there's no real like home field advantage, and so why would playing in Buffalo mean like, oh yeah, you have to wear a home jersey and you're in Buffalo? Like, might as well just be like, hey, like, these guys have major league venues. They have the space. They have, everything that's needed for, player safety. Might as well just go in there and just let them use it and just say like, hey, I get that this is a game, but we're just gonna go play this at home. I think that's the best way to do it, because it'll actually, I mean, it's a ton of wear and tear on the Toronto team, on the Blue Jays, but I mean, it saves the other teams from having to pick up and travel to this new area and, having to do all this other stuff. It'll save, the majority of the teams, and you just have to, do a little bit more accommodating for the Blue Jays. I don't see how that could or, would be that big of an issue. Like I said, they could go back to Florida, and they do have a bit of time to do that, but that's just so much traveling. Like, that's so much traveling. If they're able to go, maybe, like, I don't know why they wouldn't try and, like, split with the Mets. Why not try and, just dive into Citi Field and be like, hey, whenever you guys aren't using it, can we use it for our home games? Because there's 2 cities right there where they won't have to travel very far, travel at all. If they play their games in New York, they're going to have 2 teams that they don't even have to travel for the Yankees and the Mets, because they're going to have to play them anyways. Philadelphia is only, a 2-hour drive away. That's not that big of a deal. Boston's about 3 hours out of New York? I've never been there, but I mean, it's not that far. Baltimore's not that far away. Like, you're smack dab in the center, and it would have all the accommodations. You wouldn't have to change out like luxury suites and all that for locker rooms and stuff like that. I mean, I just feel like, why wouldn't you try and plant yourself in like the middle of New York inside of a major league clubhouse? Buffalo just seems a little bit out of the way. I just don't know. I just don't see it. I mean, and even then, if you want to go even lower, like, why not go to Baltimore? I mean, Baltimore needs the money anyways. Like, they're not getting people in the stands because they're not playing great baseball. I mean, try and be like, hey, if we can use Camden Yards when you aren't using it, we'll give you, 25-30% of the revenues that we make from the tarps and the cardboard cutouts, and, get people in. Because people are going to watch the Blue Jays. Like, they are an incredibly fun team. I don't know if anybody watched the Blue Jays Red Sox over the weekend, but, you had Vladdy Jr. hit that ball all the way to freaking Europe. Like, he smacked that hanging curveball. And then, you have Bo Bichette making incredible plays at shortstop. It's like, people are diving in. They are watching the Toronto Blue Jays. And, if you get these guys to Baltimore and say, hey, here's some extra revenues, just let us, borrow the field for a little bit, I don't see a problem with any of that. I think that is a hell of an idea. And, I just think that, why not? Why not make it, what's the worst that could happen? It works for Baltimore. They get some more money. It works for the Blue Jays. They don't have to travel as much. They can go out and do whatever they want. It saves the wear and tear on the young guys. It's probably going to keep them a lot healthier throughout the season. So we as fans are going to be able to see the young guys play a lot more because, there's going to be a lot less wear and tear. There's going to be a lot less grog, and they're going to perform better. I think it's a win-win for baseball. I think it's a win-win for the Blue Jays, and I think it's a win-win for the Orioles. Let's get the Toronto Blue Jays in to Camden Yards. MLB, do the right thing. Alrighty, I will be taking another quick break, and I will be right back talking about Bleacher Report's top 10 in the power rankings. This was weird. I don't know if I agree with pretty much any of this, but I will go into that in a second. But for now, I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, thank you for staying this long. We're just about to take a dive into the MLB awards. I think it's just right before the season comes out, or right as the season started, I should say, because you're going to be listening to this tomorrow. Might as well hop into the preseason awards favorites. I'm going to go through the MVPs, Cy Youngs, and Rookie of the Year awards. Those are the ones that are, the most prominent in sports, or this sport, I should say. So I'm just going to be breaking down those three. No need to go for, Silver Slugger and Gold Gloves. That's going to take way too long. But before we do all that, I'm going to be breaking down the Bleacher Report's top 10 in the power rankings. I don't really expect a lot from Bleacher Report, and they never really give me enough to change my mind. So a lot of their stuff I don't really agree with, and there's some things that I don't really agree with on this list. And let's get into it. So at number 10, we have the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies, I don't put them at number 10 because you don't know how they are going to act with a new coach, Joe Girardi. They didn't really pan out last year. Granted, they did have a ton of injuries. Their starting rotation got a little injured in a down year from Aaron Nola. They got injured in the back end of the bullpen. David Robertson did not, pan out very well, and then he got hurt. But they did have a year to gel. They got JT Realmuto. They got for another year. They got Bryce Harper for another year. Andrew McCutchen's back. Like, they got a ton of guys that are ready to go out and play. Can they put it all together? Maybe Joe Girardi is the guy that's ready to, grab this team by the horns and push them to where they need to be. But we don't really know that yet. I would put them lower on the list mainly because there are too many question marks surrounding the team. There are too many question marks, and I don't think you can just blow past all these question marks and just think like, oh, they'll figure it out. You don't know if they're going to figure it out. They were one of the they were pushing to be the favorites to take the NL East last year, and they ended up third. Like, I don't really know. They might have been sub 500. They might have been at fourth. I'm not really sure. I didn't check that. But, I don't really think that they're the team to be betting on. I would put them lower on the list. At number 9, another team I don't agree with because they need to be much higher. It is the Oakland Athletics. How? How do you pick this team to be? They're the 9th best team in baseball? The 9th? No, sir. They have great pitching. I've spoke on this the last 2 episodes. I love the Oakland A's. They're built to be great. They have amazing pitching. They have amazing defense. They always have a sneaky offense. Top 5 in weighted runs created plus the past 3 seasons. And the easiest schedule in the game. What am I missing? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing that you're putting Oakland the 9th best team? Like, if you're putting the Phillies at 10 due to potential, how is Oakland 9? Just based off potential alone, they should be like 6th, maybe even top 5. That's ridiculous. That kind of that's irritating. I mean, yeah, they lost AJ Puck. I'll give them that. But they're still incredibly deep pitching wise. Barring a catastrophic injury, I don't see this team winning less than 40 games. This team is going to be amazing. They are the team to beat in the AL West. I'm putting that out there right now. They are the team to beat. They are winning the AL West. I've said it the past couple episodes. I will say it again. If you have a chance to go bet on a team that's going to take the West, throw it down for the Oakland A's. Moving on. The St. Louis Cardinals. I understand this based on, just the soft schedule. They got a ton of young pitching, as they always do. And, they're coming off an ALCS, or the NLCS appearance. I actually think they could be a little low. They're full of young talent. They're full of veteran talent. They have one of the best young pitchers in the game in Flaherty. Carlos Martinez looks to be playing very, very well. And they have somebody coming. Like, they have some sort of prospect just chilling in the minors, ready to come up and take the game by storm. It's going to happen. When's it going to happen? Who's it going to be? If Miles Mikolas takes a step forward and they have somebody coming up, that's not fair. I think that these guys are a little low. I think that you could move them up maybe a rung. I would say maybe a spot or two. But here at number 8, I don't know. I think that's a little too low. I think you could definitely place them, ahead of our next team. Our next team is Minnesota, the Minnesota Twins. Now, I've lived in Minnesota the past 2 years, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't think they have the pitching to get them over the hump. Jose Barrios is a great pitcher, but Rocco Baldelli needs to understand that he only has about 5 innings in him. Once this guy gets around 100 pitches, it's done for him. Maybe he can make the leap. Who knows? I know last year it was around the 100 pitch mark. It went AWOL, and that's not something that the Twins can handle. Especially, they got Kenta Maeda and they got Rich Hill, but Kenta Maeda can only do so much. Like, he's a decent bullpen piece. He's nothing over the top. He's not a guy who's going to put you in a front runner to take the World Series. Rich Hill, he has some good games, but he's really boom or bust at any moment. The Minnesota Twins, they have a hot lineup, but pitching wise, I think it's all a facade. I don't take them as a legitimate threat at all whatsoever. I would have rated them probably 9th. I think 9th is a good spot because they're going to play very well in the Central this year. I see them ending 1st or 2nd in the AL Central, which should put them around, with the soft schedule, around, I would say, an 8 or 9 ranking. But yeah, I don't see him being 7. No, definitely not. Next up, we have the Washington Nationals. Now, they did lose Rendon. They lost Joe Ross. So, yeah, that takes a little bit of a hit. They lost Ryan Zimmerman. So, yeah, they got some bats. They got some bats that, big bats that are going to need to be filled. But, when you have the pitching, you got Corbin, Scherzer, Strasburg, Anibal Sanchez, and, they have Austin Voth. Austin Voth is, I think is, a good, legitimate contender for the 5-hole in the rotation. We'll see how he does. It's a big spot to fill. Joe Ross is definitely no slouch. We'll see how he handles, the new role. But, I think that this is a good slot for him. Until we see him, take on some pretty big names, I think, you got to give respect where respect is due. I mean, the defending World Series champions, putting them at 6th, that's not something that happens, all the time. I think for them to be a viable contender, I think that Carter Kieboom needs to have a really, really big year. I think Juan Soto needs to take a leap and go from around that 270, 280 batting average and bump that up to around the 300s. I feel like he needs to, get on base a little bit more, steal some bases. But, so far so good. You still got Victor Robles out there. We'll see what the Nats can do. See if they can, fend off some teams and, maybe be, who knows? Maybe they could get hot at the right time again. I mean, they did it last year. Might as well, give them a shot to do it this year. So, I think that 6th is a really good spot. Now, at number 5, we have everybody's favorite villains, the Houston Astros. Yeah, they did lose Garrett Cole, but, they still have Zach Greinke back with Justin Verlander, and they have a great bullpen. The lineup is super stacked with talent, barring, these guys getting hurt because they're getting thrown at. I mean, Bregman, Springer, and Altuve all got hit by the Kansas City Royals pitchers. So who knows? Maybe one of these guys could throw a pitch and just get him in the right spot and knock him out. I'm not for the injuries. I don't think throwing at people intentionally is good, especially around the head and neck area. Keep it below the neck because that's somebody's livelihood, guys. Like, I'm all for dotting somebody right between the numbers just to give them a little welt, like, hey, you messed up. Don't do it again. But when you get around the head and neck, like, that's way, way, way too much. Way too much. So, who knows? Maybe, a guy could be aiming for, the center of the back and, let it slip, miss location, and, hit somebody on the hand and break a finger. They're out for a very long time. Probably, with the shortened season, they could be done for the year. And, you lose a couple of your big guys like that, it could go down. They still have... I don't think that they're going to go to actually intentionally, knock these guys out of the season. But that's definitely something to look out for with the Houston Astros. Yeah, I mean, they are a powerful team. They do have the reputation. They've been a great team the past 4 seasons. And, they're just... They're always someone you're going to have to be paying attention to as long as they have this roster, that pitching rotation, and that bullpen. It's justifiable that they're in the 5th spot. I guarantee you things will change after the start of the season, but as of right now, it's a good spot for them. At number 4 on the list is my Atlanta Braves. That's right, guys. The Atlanta Braves are number 4 on the list. Acuna, Albies, Soroka, Fried, Freeman, the core 5 going into the year. That is amazing. That is a great core 5 right there. And then they had some major hauls in the bullpen. We have Shane Green, Will Smith, another year of Melanson, added Cole Hamels. Kyle Wright looks like he could be the guy to take the 5th spot in the starting rotation. Looking amazing on the mound. And, if Pache and Waters can get some ABs and Austin Riley can ever realize that he should swing at every single fastball. Austin Riley, I have a major bone to pick with you. The amount of fastballs right down Broadway that you could hit at 110 miles an hour out of the ballpark with ease that you are watching is already making me want to rip my hair out. Swing at a fastball. You are the epitome of what Pedro Serrano was in Major League 2. Just avoid all breaking pitches. You were not good at that last year. Avoid breaking pitches. If they look like they're in the zone, just do whatever you can to foul them off until someone makes a mistake of throwing you a fastball and you send that thing over the wall. That's all we ask from you. Just drill fastballs. Maybe, work on hitting a changeup. You don't have to be Tony Gwynn this year. Just shooting, having a 300-plus, batting average versus Greg Maddux. We're not expecting you to come out and be the next Chipper Jones. We just know you're the next Troy Glaus. Just take fastballs and barrel them over the wall. Play decent defense at third. That's all you got to do, man. The Braves fans love you. Take it from me. They love you. You're the future. You got 40 bombs chilling at the hot corner. You're amazing. Just swing at fastballs. That's all you need to do. Swing and hit the fastballs. That's all I care about. All I care about. So, moving on from Austin Riley. Yeah, watch out. I can't say this any more than I need to, but watch out for the Braves. Watch out for the Braves. I know they're going to break my heart. I know they're going to play very well throughout the regular season. They're going to get to the first round of the playoffs, and they're going to blow it. But I can't wait for that to happen because it's been a very long time since one of my teams disappointed me. And, I kind of need that. I need that yearly disappointment in my life. and I can't wait to get it back. Now, number 3, moving on, we have the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the Rays have a really favorable schedule, as we all know. The rotation that looks like it's going to be a major handful to even the best teams in the game, and a lineup that's proved last year that they're nothing to scoff at. I actually have them placed above our next team because of the schedule, but I think one thing that's going to, hinder from their success is going to be the amount of travel they have, since they're the only team in Florida. If, the Blue Jays, if they stay up north, preferably Baltimore, if they are able to do that, then really the shortest distance that they have is to an interleague opponent, which is going to be the Braves. And, maybe the Marlins. Man, I forgot about the Marlins in the last one. Oh, boy, that's not good. And they're a forgettable franchise anyways. But, it's the travel. I don't like the travel situation because they're going to be playing most of their games inside their own division, and everybody's going to be up north. So the traveling is going to probably lead to a lot of wear and tear. We'll see. We'll see how that works out for Tampa. But let's keep an eye on that. I actually have them ranked a little low. I would have put them at number 2. But at number 2, we have the New York Yankees. Now, the Yankees are going to be the Yankees. They have been the Yankees, and they will forever be the Yankees. They have a culture there, and with Brian Cashman, he's surprisingly altered the culture while keeping it the same. They would go for the biggest contracts and say there is not we have all the money in the world. We print money in New York because we are the Yankees. We're the Bronx Bombers. We are the face of sports. Because they kind of are. They are the most profitable franchise in baseball, and one of, if I'm not mistaken, one of the top 3 franchises in the entire world. Most profitable brands. So normally they would go and just spend all the money on all these marquee free agents, which they still kind of do. But then Brian Cashman has just changed the whole dynamic and brought in an entire farm system that is loaded with talent. Loaded with talent. Like, I saw a video on Instagram today of this guy, Jason Dominguez, is 17 years old. The dude looks like Aaron Donald. Are you kidding me? He's 17 years old in the Yankees, in the Yankees minor league system. And this guy looks absolutely jacked. He looks like a defensive lineman just dropping nukes from the left side at Yankee Stadium, where it's 305 to right field or whatever it is. What is it, like 313, 314? A short porch, and this guy, watch out, Barry. Your record's going down. This guy has a full season under his belt. This dude looks like he can hit 500 homers in a year. It's ridiculous. So they have that level of player even coming up to where if Luke Voigt wants a bigger deal and wants to go somewhere else, something like that, they'll just be like, we got this guy, Jason Dominguez. He's 17, and he's huge. Imagine in 4 years where he actually becomes, a full-grown man. Dude's going to be insane. So watch out for that. The Yankees have unlimited resources, in the minor leagues. They have unlimited resources in the bullpen. They have unlimited resources pitching, and they have just one of the most complete lineups in the game. The only reason I would put them at number 3 is because of the schedule in September is going to be Murderer's Row. But after September 2nd, look for them to probably be number 1. Maybe I would say 1B with our next team. But that's the Yankees. The Yankees, you can't really argue with it, but I'm going to argue with it because that's what makes sports fun. Now, number 1. The only really one no one's surprised. It's of course going to be the Dodgers. 17 games this season are against teams with winning records from last year, so expect absolute dominance out of Los Angeles. They just locked up a top 3 I would say top 3 for me, but some people will probably argue top 5 player in the game, Mookie Betts, for the next 12 years of his career, pretty much his entire career, because he's going to be 28 in October, so the guy's going to play until he's 40 years old. You know, they have one of the best minor leagues in baseball. They're just going to absolutely walk through the regular season, but who knows how they'll do in the postseason this year. You know, if Gratterall is able to, make a big step, if Kenley Jansen's able to settle down from his struggles from last year, Blake Trinan's a good bullpen piece. Maybe they stick to a 3-man, maybe a 4-man rotation and try to beef up that bullpen. They have the offense to do it. We know that. We've known that for a very long time. But are they going to have the pitching to be able to back it up? Is Dave Roberts going to actually make the right decisions regarding the bullpen to keep them in a position to excel throughout the season? That's a big question mark. I'm kind of hoping that they make the World Series, and I'm really hoping that the Yanks make the World Series, because who doesn't love that? I use the word rivalry loosely. Me and my friends back home would argue if the Dodgers and Yankees is really a rivalry, because they never really play each other. I mean, when was the last time they played each other in the World Series? Like the 60s? 80s, maybe? I don't even think they did it in the 80s. The Yankees were in a dry spell in the 80s. So, the 60s? You haven't really played a significant, meaningful game since the 60s, and you still call it a rivalry? I'm not really sure. But, I mean, the rebirth of an old rivalry just to, just to make a laugh out of the game. Who knows? It's a weird year. Let's bring back a rivalry. I'm all for rivalries. Bad blood in sports is what we need. Let's go Yanks. Let's go Dodgers. All right, everybody, that was my take on the power rankings. I will be right back with my predictions for the MLB awards season.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, everybody, I would like to thank you for reaching the final segment and staying with me. I really appreciate it. So now we are going to dive into the MLB preseason awards. So this is how I do preseason awards for any sport. Now, I get that the favorites are favorites for a reason, but it's not fun if you just pick the favorites. Say Mike Trout is the favorite to win AL MVP. He always is, and he's the safest pick to win AL MVP because he's the best player in the AL. But one thing that we've all known is that, MVP fatigue happens. We know Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. We know he's the unanimous MVP every season, but no one's going to give Mike Trout 10 straight MVP awards. It's just not going to happen. Someone's going to come in, they're going to surprise the league and, put a team that was, kind of on the bubble for the playoffs and, push them right into, the front the front of the pack. So what I do is I'm going to tell you who the favorite is, odds-wise. This is from oddsshark.com. I took the odds from there, and then I'm going to give you my pick on who's going to be the MVP of the season. So, starting off in the American League MVP race, obviously, it's Mike Trout. No one needs to really say anything. Everybody knows Mike Trout's the best player in the game. Doesn't really matter. But here, I am going to give my pick for AL MVP to Francisco Lindor. I love Mr. Smile so much. He is probably my favorite player outside of the Braves organization to watch. Like, I watch so many Indians games just because Francisco Lindor is, in my eyes, the most exciting player in the game. I feel like he's the most marketable player in the game. He has the hair like Odell Beckham does in the NFL. He's always smiling. He always has fun, and he's going to get around a 290 average, 30 homers, and if he plays a whole season, between 80 to 100 RBIs. At the shortstop position, where that, isn't entirely common, it's getting more common up until this point, but, back, 10 years ago, you weren't expecting to get that from a shortstop unless you was Troy Tulowitzki, or, a little bit earlier, maybe Nomar Garciaparra, and then before that it was Alex Rodriguez. Maybe Miguel Tejada would flirt with it every now and then, but I don't think he really ever got to that point. So, Francisco Lindor, actually both my MVPs are shortstops. I just realized that. But we'll get to the NL in a second. I think Francisco Lindor is going to be the key piece to a borderline playoff team. And if the Cleveland Indians are able to get hot and push to the playoffs, maybe get past the Twins if they have a slow start, or maybe, the youthfulness of the Chicago White Sox have them fizzle down just a little bit and miss out on the playoffs, I feel like Francisco Lindor is going to be primed for the AL MVP award. We'll see how that turns out. Now, moving on to the NL. Mookie Betts is number one. He is at plus 285. Obvious choice. He was the best player in the AL. Besides, not named Mike Trout, I should say. That then he moved to the NL. Immediately makes him a favorite to win the AL MVP or the NL MVP. So I'm not surprised there. It seems like it's going to be a very, it's a very tight race actually. I think there's 4 players that are, under plus 1,000. Cody Bellinger, who was the MVP last year, is 5th. It goes Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna, Christian Yelich, Juan Soto, then Cody Bellinger, which kind of surprised me. I expected something a little different out of them, but maybe Bellinger to be a little higher because he won NL MVP last year. But my pick this year is actually Fernando Tatis Jr. I truly think that the Padres are going to be in contention for the playoffs. And if they do make it to the playoffs, he is the most exciting player on the team. He was looking like an MVP candidate before he got hurt last year. I think that Fernando Tatis Jr., he's around 7th, I think, in the rankings. I think that if he has a big year and the Padres are able to get hot and make it to the postseason, Fernando Tatis Jr. could come in and sneak the NL MVP away from any of those guys. I would definitely, I've thought about Christian Yelich here, but everything that I've, read and everything that I've seen, he's starting off a little slow. I don't like Bellinger to go back to back. I don't really like going back to back years on MVP. I think it kind of rarely happens in all sports, but Acuna's going to have his ups and downs for the year. He's going to be great, but I don't think they'll give him the MVP award, especially last year when he was 40-40 pretty much. He was 3 steals away from 40-40 and batted almost 300, and I mean, he ended up like 4th, I think, in the MVP voting, 3rd or 4th. So I don't know. I don't see them giving it to him. Mookie Betts, I think there's going to be an adjustment period for him in Los Angeles. I don't think he's going to play as well as he did when he was in Boston. I think it'll take him about a year. Maybe next year he's going to be a viable option, but this year I don't really think so. And then Juan Soto, I don't think is in a great position to win the MVP award because they lost so much in the lineup. Like, it's who do you want to throw to? Rendon? No. All right, we'll take our chances with Juan Soto because, I mean, he's kind of boom or bust, so he got a lot more hittable pitches, especially sandwiched between, Rendon and Ryan Zimmerman. Both of those guys are gone, so it's basically who are we going to pitch to? Juan Soto or like a 35-year-old Howie Kendrick? Or, a rookie Carter Kieboom. Like, there's a lot less protection in the lineup for him, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't think he's going to end the season that well. So that is why I have Fernando Tatis Jr. taking the NL MVP award. Now I'm going to move on to the Cy Young Award. The favorite is Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is obviously going to be the favorite, but for the sake, I honestly think he's going to win this. I do think he's going to win this, but for the sake of this, to be a contrarian like I always am, my pick is going to be Shane Bieber. He's fresh off an All-Star MVP. He's got a 10.9 K per 9, a 3.32 FIP, and he is a 200-plus inning pitcher. That's something you're not going to see very much of anymore. Pitchers throwing 200-plus innings. I think that's going to be a real rarity. I think Shane Bieber is going to come in and he's going to set the tone. It's going to be him. It's going to be Clevenger, and it's going to be Carlos Carrasco, and they're going to be the front guys that are going to go try and push the Indians into the playoffs. And I think if the Indians do make the playoffs and he has a shutout year, or a lights out year, I should say, watch out for him to take the Cy Young Award. He is second in the odds, so it's not like I'm going out on that crazy of a limb, but he's not number one, so that's why I am able to pick Shane Bieber. Now moving on to the NL favorite, we have Jacob deGrom. He has a lot more to deal with now that Marcus Stroman is out. He may not do so hot this year. The Mets might not do so hot, and if the Mets don't make the playoffs, I don't think that he's going to win the Cy Young. They did that, it happened a couple years ago, but I don't think they'll give it to him again, especially if my pick does very well, which he is expected to do. My pick is Jack Flaherty of the St. Louis Cardinals. The man has a sub-1 whip, which I think that's my favorite stat to look for pitchers, is whip. I think it's undervalued, especially in the advanced metrics age. Whip is something that I've been looking at ever since I was younger, and I think it's a very good way to really kind of summarize a pitcher's season. And sub-1 is amazing to me, at least. He has a 10.6 K per 9. He had a 2.75 ERA and a 3.4 flat FIP. The dude, he's just a baller. And all the videos I've seen, granted they're Instagram videos, they're all highlights, they never show lowlights, but he has nasty wipeout stuff. He looks amazing on the mound. He looks like an incredible player. I can't wait to watch the Cardinals this year, and I think if you want to go out on a limb and pick a dark horse to win the NL Cy Young Award, might as well go with Jack Flaherty. They were just like, when I mentioned them earlier during the power rankings, they were in the NLCS, and they're going to have the offense, they're going to compete, they have the bullpen to close out games to get him wins, because wins, even though it's not as important as it was back in the day, wins are still important to win the Cy Young Award. So I think that Jack Flaherty is going to be able to put up the stats. I think that the St. Louis Cardinals are going to put themselves into a position to get back into the playoffs, maybe win the NL Central. And, if that's the case, watch out. Jack Flaherty is my pick for the NL Cy Young Award. Last but not least, we're moving on to the Rookie of the Year Award. Bummed out I was, Yoda, and shout out Yoda for that, to see that the AL favorite was Luis Robert. Really bummed. And guess what? I'm going to completely contradict myself because I'm picking Luis Robert. He is the favorite. He is my favorite rookie this year. I don't care what anybody says. I had him last year on my fantasy team because I was waiting for him to get called up. Never did. Really bummed. I have a bone to pick with you, Jerry Reinsdorf. Why did you not bring my man up last year? He could have done incredible things for you last year, and you blew it. But now he's doing incredible things for you this year, so I am excited. I am fully on the bandwagon. I will not jump off that bandwagon. Luis Robert is going to win the AL Rookie of the Year award. Bet it. Collect it. Love it. Next up, lastly, we are going to the NL favorite. Now, the NL favorite kind of threw me off for a little bit because the NL favorite is actually Gavin Lux. He didn't even make the starting, like, the opening day roster for the Dodgers. And he's going to win Rookie of the Year? No, thank you. So, my pick is going to be Brendan Rodgers of the Colorado Rockies. Now, the Colorado Rockies have a hole to fill at second base. I think Brendan Rodgers is going to fit in well. So, you know, let's go down the list of players. St. Louis, you know, St. Louis is good enough, is known for having good rookies, but none of them have ever been very stellar. So, I forget who that was, actually. Who was number 2 due to Oddshark? Let's check it out. Let's see. Stay with me here. The year MLB 2020. Bam. All right, so let's bring this up. Let's talk about this. Where's Oddshark? Let's go. History, actually. Let's go. Show all history. Bam. Yesterday, 49 items. Let's go. Rookie of the Year. Bam. Oddshark. Let's get it open. Okay, so going down. Yes. Okay, Dylan Carlson is who I'm thinking of. Thanks for sticking with me with that bad radio. Anyways, yeah, Dylan Carlson is number 2 on the list. And yeah, you know, the Cardinals do. They have good rookies every year, but they never really stand out except for Pujols in 2001. So I don't really see them as, you know, I don't see him as a legitimate threat. They have an outfield that's filled with, you know, talented athletes. They have a first baseman. You know, they have Paul Goldschmidt, and they even have, you know, Matt Carpenter to back him up. So I don't see him getting the real ABs to actually put him in a good position to do, you know, to win the Rookie of the Year. You know, Carter Keyboom has a chance, but he needs to have a great offensive year to do it. I don't see, you know, I don't see him, if he just has a good defensive season and, you know, has put subpar offensive numbers, I don't see him winning. I really don't. I don't see him taking the Rookie of the Year award. And then I also don't see a pitcher doing it. Like, the pitchers on the list are, let's see, we have Mitch Keller, we have Mackenzie Gore, Dustin May. Like, I just don't see pitchers winning. I really don't. But, you know, who knows? They could prove me wrong. But to me, I just don't see it. So that is why I have Brendan Rodgers. You know, the Rockies have had some success with infield prospects making a splash on the scene. And, you know, so I see Rodgers to do the same. You know, he has really good contact abilities. He has really good power. He's got a powerful arm. And I think he's going to fit well with the infield. You know, Nolan Arenado made a splash when he made it on the scene. Trevor Story made a splash when he made it on the scene. Like, you know, those are the last 2 big prospects that they have. And they've all, you know, both of them have hit really well. So I feel like with those 2 backing him up and, you know, showing him the ropes, I feel like he could really make an impact on the field for the Colorado Rockies. So that is why I am taking him as my NL Rookie of the Year. And that, everybody, is our show. I will be back on Tuesday with a new episode. Enjoy your week, enjoy your family, and be sure mostly to enjoy baseball. You can follow me on Instagram at EvanWorley23. Play me in Tap Baseball if you're bored. I have yet to get somebody. I've yet to get any challengers. Challenge me. I dare you. I dare you. My nickname is EvanWorley23 as well. And, of course, I would like to thank you for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and to write a nice review. That really helps us out. If you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you all on Tuesday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.